I heard you had a good audition. I said, yeah, but I'm not going to get it. She goes, no, I know that. She goes, I heard you did some impersonations. I said, yeah. She goes, I heard you did Christopher Walken for her. I said, yeah. She goes, but luckily you did it well. So I'm like, where's this going? She goes, you didn't really think of the name of the casting office, did you? So I'm like, what? She goes, it's Jaffe Walken Casting. I go, yeah. She goes, the Walken. It's Christopher Walken's wife. So I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So she goes, no, that's the, I'm like, who takes the last name of their spouse in Hollywood?
Now, broadcasting live from the Podcast Palace on Park Street in beautiful and dangerous Clearwater, Florida, it's the Comedians Uncorked podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Tony Gaud and Pat Largo.
Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of the Comedians Uncorked podcast. We are your hosts, Pat Largo and Tony Gaud, up there in the top left-hand corner. I couldn't wait to get to this next guest. It's been a while since I got to Zoom with him, but first we got to give some local love here to our studio sponsor and one of the sponsors of our shows here from Century 21, right here in beautiful Clearwater, Florida, Miss Julie Drolshagen. Give her a shout, 727-902-9233, or the website, floridabeachbusiness.com.
floridabeachbusiness.com for all your real estate needs right here in the Bay Area.
Correct, with Julie Drolshagen. All right, this next gentleman, actor, comedian, you could say comedian actor. Most importantly, changing people's lives. He was a judge. He's a lawyer. And he also is the warm-up comic on The Daily Show on Comedy Central with Trevor Noah, Mr. Vince August. Vince, how are you, my friend?
Welcome to Three White Guys That Are Apparently Blind and Can't See show, everybody. Every one of us has, we're just three old white guys that are blind. There's like three blind mice, three blind white guys.
I said, welcome to hats and glasses.
Hats and glasses. We got these, the ring lights flashing off. I got my glaucoma and my rods and cones are all screwed up now.
Right.
Vince, before we start, let me tell you, yes. My mind is still fairly a steel trap, but let me tell you how important this gig was. I actually wrote down a reminder note, Thursday, 2 p.m., nice. Vince August. I don't want to miss this baby whatsoever. Thank you. First off, man, so many things. I wish we could talk for a couple hours because I got so many questions, and we haven't been on Zooming, you and me, probably for a couple of years, probably during the pandemic. So let me take it right back there. You're doing your stuff. You're lawyering. You're doing stuff with The Daily Show, and then January, February 2020 comes about. Things get a little dicey. NBA starts canceling some games. Other sports start canceling some stuff. Businesses get a little hairy. What happens? You're on top of the world doing what you do for years. What happened in the life of Vince August when that pandemic started?
Well, it was crazy because the last show I did that wasn't warm-up was at Westbury in Long Island.
Wow.
Which, if you know it, it's in the round. It couldn't be any more of a petri dish for COVID that if you tried to create one. Right. And here we are. So when you walk out of Westbury, you literally walk and there's people high-fiving you as you're walking past them. So you're getting touched by everybody. And we just kind of got the hint that it was out there. So as everyone's high-fiving us, I walk straight back to the dressing room and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wash my hands just to be safe because, you know, the fear just started.
Yeah.
The next week, I go to The Daily Show. And I'll never forget, it's Thursday, March 12th. And the executive producer's like, look, you know what? We're going to have to shut it down. They're saying it's going to be 2 weeks for this flatten the curve thing. We think it's going to be a little bit more. I'm like, look, I got relatives in Italy. This thing is bad. It's March. Trust me, we're not going to be back before May. In fact, I'm going to go because Trump's the president. I think it's going to be irony. I'm going to say Cinco de Mayo, the country's back. And I thought I was going long, and man, did I miss. So yeah, and it was. I have to tell you the everything came to a crashing halt. We had 60 more tour dates on the tour with Trevor. The show was going great. I'm on a fast track to get to. I list all of the shows I've ever done. I have a diary that I write every show down in. I'm on my way to 3,000 shows. Not a big deal for most people, but for me, I don't know. I grew up a Roberto Clemente fan. 3,000 hits. I'm trying to get them a 3,000 show.
Nice.
And then the next thing you know, there's nothing. And the worst thing I did, Pat, was I put that May 4th date in my own head because I was good for March, April. I started making videos trying to keep people laughing. May, I was doing the same thing. I crashed in June 2020. That's when I was like, shit, we're in trouble. This thing isn't open. And in New Jersey, we had the lockdown of all lockdown guys, Murphy, who he wasn't giving an inch. He didn't care about science. He went with the fear approach that everyone else. And I'm not saying it was wrong in the sense if I get why he did what he did. I don't get the nursing home thing between him and Cuomo, whatever. That's a whole different political discussion. But we knew we weren't opening. We knew we were done for a while.
Yeah.
Started doing Zoom gigs. Man.
I know.
Not fun. Then I got lucky. I got a couple writing gigs through Trevor and his management team to keep me going, to get me work, keep my brain sharp. Cool. So that kind of kept me alive to the end of the year. And then 2021, oh, Jesus, sorry about that. And then 2021, it was just, let's find anywhere we could to do comedy. And then it became, you're doing it in a park, you're doing it outside, but people were still terrified of coming back.
Yeah.
And I remember I opened the one club, its first show, Comedy Cove, and we had a max capacity of 25 people because we had the requirements here in Jersey, and we actually got 25 people in, and the comedy owner, was barely being able to pay us. I'm like, dude, give me half.
Right.
Give me half of what you normally would. We all got to work together. Right. And he never forgot it. He's like, dude, you have carte blanche to come here whenever you want, work stuff out. Once we're back full force, boom, this is your place. Then I had a friend of mine whose restaurant took a beating. They lost, obviously, all of their restaurant business. Then the building next door catches fire. Fire department puts out their fire. The water floods their basement, which is where all their inventory is. It's an Indian restaurant. Indian spices are not easy to come by. You pretty much got to get them from overseas. So they lost everything. So when they started opening, I'm like, hey, you want to try something together? How about on Thursdays I come here, a stool, a microphone, a speaker, no cover, no nothing, your food, my laughs, and we pass around a hat at the end. And I would sit there and just riff. Sometimes it was for an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, whatever made the people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And this became a regular thing, and they were getting business, and I was getting a chance to do stuff. And it wasn't until September 2021 that things really opened. And then it became a question of, look, man, do I want to go to the city and run around chasing $25 spots, $50 spots, $75 spots where there was no parking because every restaurant had a vestibule outside. So now you got to pay to park, pay to go in. Gas prices are going up. Or do I just keep doing my thing here in Jersey? So I kept doing my thing in Jersey, was writing. The tour came back a little bit. We had some dates. And it wasn't until this year that The Daily Show came back. And now, we're finally in full swing.
Tony, you have anything for Vince on?
Well, I was wondering, as the tour comes back, are you able to book the same amount of venues as before, or is that declined, or is it increased maybe?
That's really Trevor. So a lot of the dates that we're doing now are dates that were canceled that have been rescheduled 3-4 times. Yeah. Because, everyone was thinking, this is going to be 6 months. We'll reschedule. Then they got canceled. So they kept getting pushed back. So, we have dates we haven't gotten to yet that are 2 years old. Wow. So these are all makeup shows.
Wow.
So we're just, and he changed the name of the tour because he was just like, well, we're not going to call it Loud and Clear. Let's call it Back to Abnormal, and just run with that. So these are all makeup dates. These aren't even new gigs. So now we're starting to sprinkle in some new gigs, but we got makeup dates backed up into 2023.
Good.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I hope that all just keeps going, man. Because it's great to see it. And let's go ahead and do a little mark out session here. to Trevor Noah, because I didn't know that his writing team was helping you out with some gigs. He sounds like a really cool dude. I mean, it's really, how long have you been working out on the Daily Show with Trevor?
I'm going to tell you this. It's funny how people, attack him for his politics and assume everything that's said on the show is a reflection of everything he believes, thinks, or whatever. And it's just like, look, guys, that's a comedy show.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And, it's so funny how Jon Stewart is viewed in such a different lens than Trevor. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's the same show. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's different writers. Trevor's got a completely different voice. I'll give you that. But it's still the Daily Show. Yeah. It's still, but because people see the stuff that John does with 9/11 and people want to kind of ignore what Trevor does, like he doesn't do anything for anybody. And it's like, no, man, look, you guys are letting your politics get in the way of your comedy. And it's like, have you ever seen him do stand-up?
Yeah.
Because John's stand-up was nothing like what he did on the Daily Show. The only guy who's pretty much the same in terms of their show and their stand-up is Mar.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what you see Mar do on his show, the one on HBO, what the hell's it called?
He's very consistent.
Real time with Bill Maher, yeah.
Real time.
Yeah,
that's his stand-up act.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know I love Trevor. I'm not his politics. Yeah. I'm not mad at him for his comedy or his show. I'm just not a big fan of that Uber Eats commercial where he takes a bite of the apple, then he takes a bite of that damn soap bar, and he's going to take a bite of the bar of soap and get that, don't eats it. When is Vince August getting an Uber Eats commercial?
Well, it's so funny because, like I said, the whole thing with his background and what everybody sees of him and what he is as a person is so incredible. And I tell people, look, this guy kept me going during a pandemic, and people see the difference in our acts and they're like, how do you guys, work that together? Because, people are like, I don't even know what you are. Are you center? Are you right? Are you left? I'm like, well, good. You shouldn't know what I am. Right. If I'm doing comedy right and I'm making fun of everybody, people are like, but he seems to lead. And I'm like, no, again, you guys are basing everything on the show. As a person, when we're together, we have some of the best conversations. In fact, I got to tell you, I don't know that I have a back and forth in terms of really good discussions better with anybody else other than him.
Really?
Yeah. We have amazing discussion, and we don't always agree.
Right. I had this down last minute. It might be a slight cheesy, but any great little road stories? I know it's been not on the road for a while with the pandemic, but any cool little Trevor stories, you and him, or just things he's done for people that you saw him do, or vice versa? I'm
going to tell you this, and as far as a comedian, and this show's about comedians based on what's behind you on the wall.
Yes, sir.
I've opened for other big name people, and we have one green room. And it's me, Josh, and whoever travels with us, we're in one green room. There's no you're in another green room, we're here. Whether we're in a car, we're on a plane, we sit together.
Wow.
And I've heard nightmares about headliners that everyone agrees with their politics, everyone thinks they're great guys. And it turns out, don't look at the headliner, don't talk to the headliner. You're in a different green room, no pictures together. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, and listen, I've had problems with a couple of headliners where I was told, don't talk to the headliner. I'm like, don't talk to the headliner. What the hell does that mean? Just go do your thing and don't talk to them. Don't even look at them. I've heard that. Don't look at them.
I know. I hate that.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool to know. And let me just tell you something. I'll expose something right now on this show, Vince. You see Tony up there, all mild-mannered, does the same stuff to me. He's all, don't look, don't do this. You go in that room, and I'm like, that's the closet.
Look at me. I can tell if you're looking at me on Zoom too.
I know. I try to look away like a scared puppy dog.
Yeah, we just got back from Calgary and Edmonton, and it's so funny because again, people have assumptions about areas and countries and this and that, and you get there, and I made jokes about Trudeau. I made jokes about the hockey teams. And let me tell you, what a warm, unbelievable group of people. Open-minded. There was no booing, no this, no that. And you know, look, I'm making fun jokes about Canada and everything else. I'm making jokes about the States, the whole bit. None of that. Whereas you do jokes in this country, in certain cities, I get more angry messages via Twitter and Instagram from cities that you think are progressive and liberal and everything else than I do in places like Canada or places that you think are super conservative or no. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at where you get the hate stuff from with closed-minded people.
That's great. Do you have a preferred area, like a part of the country that you prefer to do shows in? Like you have like the best energy, the best vibes?
I'm going to tell you this. The shows that I've done in Florida as of late have been my favorite. And I don't know if it's the politics. I don't know if it's the vibe. I mean, everyone's moving there apparently. So you have people, and Florida is one of those places that half the people from Florida aren't from Florida.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, so it's not New York City tourists, but it's people from all over the country, probably the East. Yeah. I would say everywhere from Chicago down moved to Florida. Whereas, you know, from Chicago across to the West, they're moving to Arizona and places like that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, whether it was one of my favorite shows that we did on the tour when we first started was we did an amphitheater in North Florida. I will never forget that show. It was raining out. We're in an amphitheater, one of the best crowds we had. I just got back from doing shows down in Naples. What the hell's the name of the place, Pat? You're gonna have that off the hook.
Yeah.
Amazing crowds.
Yeah.
Amazing crowds.
Yeah, they always get a great turnout.
I really love going down to Florida, and you get people from all over the place. So it's those shows have been a lot of fun. They really have been. And then the one city that surprised me that we went to towards the end of last year, LA. Again, you think LA is going to be super liberal. They're going to be sensitive. Yeah. We did a show at the Forum. Incredible audience. Incredible. So, you know, again, you think, oh, LA, they're going to be uptight. They're going to be, no, completely different.
And real quick, thanks for sticking up for Florida. See that, America and the world? Because we always have our Florida, and I'm serious, right? We have our Florida man stories. Yeah, I've been here almost 50 years. I know we're screwed up, but we're a fun state.
What's not screwed up?
I mean, yeah.
Where in this country isn't screwed up?
True.
You know, and here's the other thing I tell people with regards to politics. And I don't get into all of this, but I tell people, look, if completely blue was so great, everybody would be moving to California. If completely red was so great, everybody would live in Alabama. But no one's living in either one of those places, which leads you to think, you know what, maybe you need a little bit of blue and a little bit of red to get a little bit of everything so we all get along.
There's a balance. There's a balance to it. There really is.
Yeah.
You need the color purple right there, a little red, a little blue.
Yeah.
I think that makes purple. I'm not sure. Let me ask you this, if you don't mind, Vince, real quick, because I love this. So I know you're acting. I was familiar with your IMDb, but I know you're on soap operas and other shows. Real quick, before I get to my question, did you also do an SUV or a Law and Order in the Day or something? Did you do that?
No, I'm the only guy who lives in the tri-state area that's never been on Law and Order.
Okay.
I'm the guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very unique that way.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you haven't even been a dead body. That's crazy.
If there's a TV show shot in New York, I'm not in it.
If you haven't been in a room being questioned by Mariska Hargitay, you haven't lived.
No. The best was when I went on an audition for Sopranos.
Tell us about this.
Go on an audition for Sopranos, and they send me the script, and they want an Italian American. Okay. For those of you who don't know, my parents, born and raised in Sicily, come here, my first language, Italian. Grow up in a neighborhood that's predominantly black. I'm the Italian kid. The white kids in the neighborhood are calling me Guinea, Greenhorn, Dago, everything else. The white kids are being racist to me as a foreigner, calling me an alien, a foreigner, everything else. Okay, that's how I grew up. Again, as In fact, my fiance seen me cry in my lifetime 5 times. Once was when Italy won the World Cup in 2006. The second time was when they just won the Euros against England. The other 3 times were when people died. So that's how much I'm Italian hardcore through and through.
Okay.
Go to this audition. Now look at what I look like. Go to this audition, walk in there, and it's nothing but fat guys with dark hair in bowling shirts.
Right.
And I walk in, and at the time I'm like 185, pretty cut up. Look at everybody in this room. I'm like, I got no chance in hell. I got no chance in hell in getting this. So I go in, and the casting director is Walken Jaffe Casting. So I go in there and I read, and the casting director, Walken, looks at me. She goes, well, you read great. And I looked at her, I said, but I don't look like the guys outside. I said, you want a caricature of an Italian. And even though I'm Jersey, I'm really an Italian. I speak Italian fluently. It's my first language. I'm not what you're looking for, because you want that guy. So she goes, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to give you something else to read. She gives me something else to read. She's reading my resume. And she goes, it says here you do impersonations. I said, yeah. She goes, do a couple. So I did Tyson, whoever was around at the time that was popular. And she goes, it says here that you do a Walken. So I said, yeah, I do. So I do a Christopher Walken for her. And she looks at me. She goes, that's a pretty good Christopher Walken. I got to be honest. So I'm like, all right, thank you. So she goes, well, thanks for everything. I leave, get home. My agent calls me up that's sending me out and says, I heard you had a good audition. I said, yeah, but I'm not going to get it. She goes, no, I know that. She goes, I heard you did some impersonations. I said, yeah. She goes, I heard you did Christopher Walken for her. I said, yeah. She goes, well, luckily you did it well. So I'm like, where's this going? She goes, you didn't really think of the name of the casting office, did you? So I'm like, what? She goes, it's Jaffe Walken Casting. I go, yeah. She goes, the Walken. It's Christopher Walken's wife. So I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So she goes, no, I'm like, who takes the last name of their spouse in Hollywood? No, why would I think they're married? No one gets married in Hollywood and takes the other person's. She goes, yes. She goes, there's Carrie Jaffe, and then I forget what her name is. Oh, she goes, God. You did her husband's voice to her. So I'm like, oh shit. She goes, but she did it well. So at least, you got that.
Wow.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
That really is good, man.
Who takes their spouse's name in Hollywood?
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's
Who
confusing.
saw that coming?
It threw
I'm
you
not
off.
researching that.
I know. Real quick, what were you doing longer, acting or comedy?
Oh, comedy.
Comedy, okay.
Yeah, my IMDb, really the acting consists of doing that TV show, What Would You Do, which I was on the original cast. We did that for like 3-4 years. I did about 45 episodes. Then it just got repetitive. And I'm like, this isn't really doing anything for me anymore. I did 2 soaps, As the World Turns. And then I did General Hospital. Then I was cast for this TV show, Power. Did the original pilot episode on Showtime. I'm like, this is awesome. Looks like I'm going to be a regular on the show. No, never use my character again. Right. Yeah, you're in the pilot episode. You think, oh my God, I'm going to be a part of the show. Yeah. No, not so much. Then, yeah, I did commercials. I did a UPS commercial. I did I wound up doing voiceover commercials, which is weird because I hate my voice. And you never think you sound right, but then again, we're all artists. We're all nuts. We always think we suck. And then one day I'm driving in the car and I hear this commercial on the radio and I'm like, I know the lines from this commercial. I'm doing the lines. I'm like, wait a minute. That's me. The commercial. I didn't even realize it was me on the commercial. No, yeah, I did a Geico commercial that showed up in the Buffalo area. So yeah, I was getting stuff, Starburst commercial, I did stuff like that. But no, nothing that paid the bills like comedy.
Did you do anything as Christopher Walken?
No, I never got anything to. But so he's on the Daily Show when Stewart is there.
Yes. And
he's one of the guests. And I normally leave when a guest comes out. I just make sure the crowd's good. And then I'm like, all right, the rest is on you guys. Walken is there and I'm staying for this. I got to see this. I got to see what that, because people say he's quirky, he's weird.
Right.
What a pisser. He was absolute comedy gold on that show. And when you see the guy morph his life from the deer hunter to what he became with needing more cowbell on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I mean, what an arc this guy's career took. But yeah, he was super funny. He's talking about how he lives in Connecticut, and there's, I think a groundhog and a squirrel that used to fight every day on his property. And it was like a thing for him to just sit there and watch this.
You can picture him doing it too. That's the funny part.
Yeah, it's really hysterical. You guys got to try to look that up and see if it's somewhere on YouTube.
I don't know. Seriously, I'll put it on the Comedians Uncorked page.
Yeah.
When it comes to your stuff, and you mentioned, some of your stuff, political or different observational stuff, but what is your writing process? Do you have a certain, because you're also a lawyer, you got a full-time gig, man. Like, where do you fit that in, and how do you manage that stuff?
I tell people the one thing that you have to do, and I don't understand a lot of comics that all they're about is just getting spots. I tell people, look, for me anyway, you got to live life. You got to experience life. So, to me, it's like I did straight out of the pandemic. I headlined a show in September of 2021 at a theater in Hackensack, and I kind of spaced out this material. I'm like, and I think I got an hour, maybe an hour, 10 minutes, let's see. And it wound up being an hour and a half. And it was all COVID. And it was just what I saw everyone go through and I went through during COVID, how I reacted to it, how my family went through it, how the world was going through it, and how, a comedian's brain works during all of that. So yeah, it's not like I sit around and say, oh, I need a joke about this. And the one thing that's never part of my process, I don't watch any stand-up. So people will be like, oh, did you see Chappelle's special? And I'm like, no. Like one of my favorite guys at the Daily Show is Ronnie Chang.
Yes.
Tearing it up. And I tell people, watch Ronnie. Ronnie is amazing. He's a good guy. I mean, when I tell you a good guy, and, same thing for Roy. Roy is, I mean, really, really a good guy.
That's cool.
Watch their stuff and people are like, oh, you watch it and you laugh. I'm like, no, but I know them. They're good people. Everyone tells me their special's funny. They have a huge following. Watch, and they're like, but you didn't see it. I'm like, yeah, because I don't watch comedy, man. It's because when you see somebody do a bit about something, like, I should do a bit on that. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want all of my stuff to come from me.
That was going to be, that was something I was wondering about. Like if you target certain material, or if it's something that's organic to you that you're dealing with, that's important from your perspective, or if it's something that you're trying to get out to the general public.
Yeah, it's all personal. It's all my reflection on stuff. It's all what I see, think, and feel. Like with Biden and Trump, it's just my perspective on it. And my perspective is a little bit different than most because I hate both of them. I think they're both idiots. And I'm not going to sit here and take on a side. So what I do is tell people, look, I know you like these guys, but let me give you a snapshot into what you're liking, and just try to find a humor in it too, not where it's an activist type of thing. Yeah. And it's like, look, can we at least laugh at the guy that we know is, especially the last two. Look, if you don't have a sense of humor about these two guys, then you're taking.
These two guys have, there was a whole era, I'm sure you're familiar because you've been around long enough, but there was a long stretch of nothing but Bush and Clinton jokes. It was like recycled.
Going back to Gerald Ford on Saturday Night Live, Chevy Chase used to do him falling down all the time. And that's why people laughed about this thing with the bicycle immediately. Oh, Trump. I'm like, no. Dude, Gerald Ford was literally made fun of all the time for being, a klutz on SNL. Then there were the people that did the Reagan impersonations when Reagan was kind of turning the country around, at least emotionally, if, economically and everything else you can question, but at least the emotional stuff, people were making fun of Reagan. People made fun of Bush, rightfully so, throughout the Bush era. Whereas Clinton got this other weird kind of, the fat jokes at first, and then the whole sex jokes. So there was always this weird kind of, it's more cutting towards Republicans. And to me, it's like, no, look, They've always been a target for fodder. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
If you're that invested in your candidate that you have no sense of humor about it, then don't come see me. Don't come see me.
Right.
I'm not your comedian.
Agreed. I love that rule.
Yeah.
Not your comedian.
And speaking, because back then we'd probably have the same stuff as we had now back in Gerald Ford's day if we had social media. Now I can't believe some friends I've known for decades. I refuse to be on anything in my life on either side. So it has to be direct, you know. But
I'm a gun owner and I attack gun ownership. I'm Christian religious in that way, but I attack organized religion. You know, so I attack the things that I know there's hypocrisy.
Right.
I talk about how I'm a pescatarian and everything, and talk about how that's hypocrisy. So, you know, if you don't point out your own bullshit,
right,
you know, and aren't comfortable with that, then you just don't, you're just so sensitive about all of your beliefs that you think everything that you think is right. And if you think that everything you think is right, how fucking arrogant are you as a person?
Yes.
And the thing is it basically almost freezes people in place. There's no progress beyond that because you can't get past that argument. I mean, it's just like there's got to be a point that you agree. Otherwise, we can't move forward in any direction.
I stopped watching mainstream media a couple years ago, especially with the ending of that election. And, you know, people said to me, you know, why don't you watch the news? And I'm like, because here's the thing. No one's talking to each other anymore. And all I'm hearing is a guy in an echo chamber, a woman in an echo chamber, or groups of people in an echo chamber convinced that they're right and there's no other opinion. And it's like, I don't need to hear that shit.
Right.
I don't want to hear that shit.
It's not news show. It's a news show. It's not like the Walter Cronkite days are over.
No.
But let me read real quick. I saw this today. I just want to get your opinion on this, and Tony's is yours as well. So, and we have a few minutes left here. Thanks again, Vince, for spending time with us, man. This is Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson. And I had an interesting thing here when talking about comedy's job. He says, comedy's job to offend while criticizing cancel culture. He says, quote, "It does seem to me that the job of comedy is to offend or have the potential to offend. And it cannot be drained of that potential." This is the sentence I love. He goes, "Every joke has a victim. That's the definition of a joke."
Yeah.
I love that. Every joke has a victim.
Absolutely.
That's the definition of a joke.
Yeah. That's a t-shirt right there, man. That's a great t-shirt.
Is that freaking awesome? I mean, that is like...
And here's the thing. So now the new approach to that is, yes, but does it have to be demeaning? You know, can you make fun of the victim in a way that, well, then it depends how hard of a laugh you're going for.
Correct.
So if you're going for just the smart chuckle, oh, that was witty, okay. But if you go after the victim in a way that is, look, not cruel, not meant to just absolutely shit on a person, make the person feel like shit, but point out an absurdity and do it in an exaggerating way that gets a bigger laugh. Yeah, it's going to cut a little bit more, but you got to cut a little bit deeper to get a bigger laugh.
Yeah.
Now, if you're slicing in half, well, maybe you got too far. I don't know. It depends on the bit.
Right.
Yeah. And it depends on the comic, you know, there's different styles. There's different styles of cutting people, you know, not everybody.
Absolutely.
Uses the same knife.
Of course.
Yeah. So, you know, and look, I tell people, comedy is one of those things. It's like music. It's like any other art. It's not for everybody. But just because you don't like it, don't say that shouldn't exist.
Exactly.
Of course.
And that's where we are now. It's, you know what, that brand of comedy shouldn't exist because it bothers me. Well, then we could do that with everything. We could do it with, you know, physical art, sculptures, paintings. We could do it with music. We could do it with TV. How about this? How about you don't just fucking watch it and you move on with your life?
That's the thing. It's like we've gotten to a point in society where it's the easiest thing to do is to change a channel. You don't even have to use your hands. You could tell Siri to do it for you. But all we do is complain about what we can change. It's like, don't listen.
But so here's the thing. It's not, I don't want to see it. It's, I don't want anyone else to see it.
Yes.
That's where we are. Yeah. It's not, it bothers me and I don't want to see it. I know I can turn away from it. I don't want anyone else to, because, some of those people don't know how to turn. I'll get the fuck out of here with that shit.
That's it, yeah. Get off my algorithm.
It's
Get out of
right.
here.
It shows it's a representation of that person when he or she wants to help you. They want to help you. I'm going to complain about.
Exactly.
2 quick ones, because we're running out of time here.
Go ahead.
I love this. Real quick, when are we going to see you back here at Disney World? And I know you have a thing for Disney World in Florida.
I'm running the wine and dash in November.
Okay, good.
I'm doing a 5K, 10K half.
Oh, wow.
Then I'm coming. So what I'm starting in 2022 is I'm going to do all of the Disney races and end it with the marathon. I swear I would never run a marathon again. So in 2022, in February, I'm doing that first set of races. Then there's the springtime challenge, every race.
Oh.
Then I'm going to come back in November, do the wine and dash again, every race. And then I'm going to do the Dopey challenge in 2024, which is the 5K, 10K half full marathon.
Wow.
Assuming I could survive.
Yes.
Make sure it's at the right time of year. If it's not, as long as it's not in the summer, you're all right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's in January.
So
Yeah.
people can people can look for Vince August at Disney World running his ass off in 2023 and 2024. And we could do a whole hour talking about you with your powerlifting and strength training back in the day and all that stuff. This guy knows what he's doing, man. Tony, real quick, anything before I do my last question of the interview?
No, I mean, I just this is the first time I get to meet Vince, so it's really great talking to you.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate what Trevor's doing over the Daily Show. So
yeah,
appreciate you coming on, man.
And I should be coming down in your area sometime, hopefully in the fall. I think we have shows in Estero, and we may have something in Orlando. I think we're doing Amway, where the Magic play. And I'm talking to a friend of mine who has a band down in your area in Tampa, and we're thinking about maybe doing something at Side Splitters where it's comedy and music.
Okay.
So we're trying to put something together.
Good. Well, we'll get together, either you and me or you, me, maybe Trevor too. We'll have a beer or something like that. Real quick before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
What's the big gig here in the next few years that's going to make Vince August happy, and it's the one he wants? It's going to just make him happy for the rest of his life.
Well, I just signed with Buchwald, which is Don Buchwald's agency. Scott Kaufman saw me perform, looked at my stories like, look, man, I don't know why anyone else has missed on this. Signed me within a week of meeting me. So we're looking to branch into either actual news channel. And when I say news, I shouldn't say news, like podcast, radio show, covered the daily topics in a unique way that tries to bring people together as opposed to tries to push people apart. So it might be in the vein of a podcast on a site, might be on Sirius XM or a TV show. So that's where we're going. We're working on it right now.
Good luck with that. We look forward to that and seeing you in the Tampa Bay area. Thank you so much, Vince August. And for Tony Gaud,
it's all good.
You're putting up with the Comedians Uncorked podcast, live from the Sunshine State, Florida.
For this and way more content, check out our Comedians Uncorked YouTube channel and hit subscribe.